Hi, I'm Ariel from Bookish English. Are you ready to practice speaking in English with me? Let's do it. What do you do? Where do you want to go? What are you up to this weekend? Could you answer these questions in English? In today's English lesson, you will practice speaking with me about 7 of the most common conversation topics in English. We will practice vocabulary, questions, sample conversation, plus you will have the chance to have a sample conversation practice conversation with me too. Over the past year, I have made 7 Speak With Me lessons, and today I have combined them all in a very useful lesson where you can practice them for the next 2 hours. All right. Are you ready to get started? We are going to be talking about these topics today. Drum roll. Let's get started with the first one, weekend plans. Are you ready to learn the most important conversation question of all time? At least according to me. Is that question, what's your name? No. Is that question, will you give me money? No. Is that question, do you love me? No. 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 The most important conversation question is, there's actually 2 parts. What about you? How about you? When someone asks you about your weekend plans and you say a little reply, I'm going hiking. I'm not doing much. There might be an incredibly awful, awkward pause. What happens next? Well, this is where the most important question comes in. You can ask them, what about you? How about you? You can imagine tossing a ball back and forth. The other person has asked you a question. What are you doing this weekend? They throw you the ball. Now you reply and you say, okay, I'm going hiking. Or, I'm not doing much. You need to throw or toss the ball back to that person, and this question does that. How about you? It means you are asking the same question back to them. What are you doing this weekend? How about you? I want you to remember this wonderful question, either of them. Actually, they have the exact same meaning. How about you? What about you? Remember these questions, because later when we practice this at the end of this lesson, during our conversation, speaking time, remember these questions and use them. All right, let's go to some common vocabulary that you can use to talk about weekend plans. Brunch. Many Americans love brunch. The word brunch is a combination of breakfast and lunch, and that's because we usually eat this on the weekends, maybe a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, between 10 gal a.m. and 2 p.m. It's a time when you could eat either breakfast or lunch, and it's usually a long social event. You might go out to brunch with your friends, or have your friends to your house to eat brunch. My friends and I are meeting at our favorite brunch spot on Sunday. Great. It's a restaurant where you can eat breakfast-type foods, usually with some drink like a mimosa or something with fruit in it. Or maybe some champagne in the morning, and you can eat this in the company of your friends. Another common weekend word is social butterfly. A social butterfly refers to someone who makes a lot of plans. They are flying around to event to another activity. They're always doing things, usually involving lots of other people. They are a social butterfly. If you are a social butterfly, probably the year 2020 with lockdowns and all of these things were probably really difficult for you because you love to get together with other people and always be active. We can use this in a sentence like this. My friend is a social butterfly, She has invitations to 3 brunches and 4 afternoon teas. Amazing. What if you are not a social butterfly? What if you are the opposite? Are you an unsocial caterpillar? No. It means you are a homebody. Your body likes to stay at home. I'm a homebody. She's a homebody. Someone who enjoys just doing things slowly and staying at home. They feel most comfortable in a comfortable place at home. You could say, my friend is a social butterfly, but I'm more of a homebody. When I get together with friends, I would rather have dinner at my house and then play games here. I think this is true for me personally. As I get a little bit older, I prefer these kind of intimate group settings instead of lots of people. I prefer just a couple friends at home, maybe having a bonfire outside, roasting some food or some marshmallows, and this intimate setting. I enjoy doing activities at home more often than when I was a little bit younger. To stay in. Unfortunately, that has been probably a lot of our weekend plans for the past year, and it means that you're just going to stay at home. It doesn't mean you're going to do nothing. It just means you're not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay in. You might say, it's supposed to be cold and rainy this weekend, so I'm just going to stay in and read a book. Or, I'm just going to stay in and do some things around the house. To binge watch. This means that you watch a lot of movies or TV shows, usually back to back, without stopping. Several hours. Maybe you watch 4 seasons of a TV show in one day. This is binge watching. You are watching a lot. This expression comes from a term we usually use with drink, to binge drink. This means that you drink a lot of syrup at one time. Not a very healthy thing to do, but when we say to binge drink, that has that same idea, is you're doing a lot back to back, or you could binge watch TV. You might say, last weekend, my husband and I binge watched all of the Star Wars movies. This isn't true. When you have young children, you do not have time to binge watch TV, but you might say this about your life. I binge watched that new TV show that just came out. Our final expression that you can use to talk about your weekend plans is to catch up on some chores. This phrasal verb, to catch up on, is a beautiful phrasal verb that you can use to talk about some necessary activity that you haven't done for a while, and now there's more and more and more, and you need to finish all of this. We can imagine laundry, dishes, sweeping, cleaning, maybe some home repairs, tidying up, maybe even yard work. If you don't do those things for 1 week or 2 weeks, there's so many you have to do. That means you need to catch up, you to do what you haven't done for a while. You need to catch up on some chores, and chores are just those activities that I mentioned. Laundry, dishes, these necessary activities that involve cleaning up, helping to make your home a wonderful place to live. Maybe this weekend you just need to catch up on some chores. You might say, I was so busy all week and finally I'm going to catch up on some chores this weekend. Maybe not very fun, but when your house is clean, it feels good. All right. Now that we have some common vocabulary you can use to talk about your weekend plans, let's talk about some introduction questions that you might hear and that you can also ask other people. These have varying levels of reductions and fast ways that you will hear them. So I want to help you understand and recognize what other people are saying and also be able to use it. Let's talk about our first question. What are you up to this weekend? What are you up to this weekend? You might know the expression, "What's up?" This just means how you are. We're using that same word up to talk about what are you doing this weekend? What are you up to this weekend? But do you think that we usually say it like this? What are you up to this weekend? So clear, so lovely. No. Instead, we're going to reduce this a little bit, and then we can reduce it a lot more. Let's talk about the first one. What are you up to? What are you up to? Here, the word what and are creating a spoken contraction. Usually when we write, we don't write this type of contraction. It's only in spoken English, but oftentimes be verbs like are, is, will be contracted with a question word. What are you up to this weekend? What are you up to? We can reduce this a little bit further. What up to? What up to? What up to this weekend? There are a lot of reductions happening at the beginning. What up to? Here we have, what are you being reduced to just what? The ch is you, and water has just been smooshed together, and we can say what up to? What up to? What up to? What up to? This is really fast. If you say this slowly, what up to? It sounds really weird. We only use this in really fast English, so if you are going to say this, it needs to be quickly and reduced and linked together. Most likely you're going to hear this, so I want to make sure that you can understand when someone says, "Hey, what's up to this weekend?" What's up to this weekend? You can say, "Sophia taught me that. I know what that means. What are you up to this weekend?" Yes. Let's go into our next expression where we're going to also reduce this a bit and help you to understand it. What have you got going on this weekend? What have you got going on this weekend? These all mean the same thing. What are you doing this weekend? But you might hear this expression with the word got. What have you got going on this weekend? When you actually hear this, we don't say it that clearly. What have you got going on this weekend? Wouldn't that be nice, though? Instead, you're going to hear a reduction or a contraction of the first two words, just like we saw with the previous example. What and have are going to be pushed together. What have you got going on? That final G in the word going is going to be cut off, and we'll just say goin'. Let's try to say that all together. You want to try to say it with me? What have you got going on? What have you got going on this weekend? What have you got going on this weekend? Do you think we can reduce this further? Yes. What do you got going on this weekend? What do you got? Here, the beginning of what have you got is just really like you threw it in a mixing bowl, stirred it up, and threw it out on a cookie tray. Well, let's try to break it down so it's not quite so messy and complicated. At the beginning, we have, what have you got? But it sounds like whata. Whata, this is what have. Whata ya is you. Whata ya got going? Again, we're going to drop that G at the end of the word going. Going on. Whata ya got going on? Whata. Notice what's happening at the end of the word what. Do you hear a clear T? Whata ya? No. That T at the end of the word what is going to change to a D sound. This is really typical of American English, where a T that's surrounded by vowel sounds is going to change to a D. It's called a flapped T, and it